This podcast is powered by As Always Entertainment. If you enjoy this content, consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/asalways. Other than to support this show for just $1 a month or more, you get access to over 50 exclusive episodes of the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast that release every week the Kill Connor Club podcast isn't on. You also get a week's early access to the Spoilercast show, The Cinema Room, and plenty of cool perks such as being part of polls for future videos on our channels, as well as other early access material. With that said, please enjoy the podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Room podcast, the Spoilercast podcast where we talk movies, TV show seasons and video games and spoil the absolute hell out of them. Today we are talking about Game of Thrones Season 8 finale, the second half, episode 4 to 6, but again, it's the end of the series, so we're going to talk about everything. So if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, click off, go watch it, or don't. Just don't listen to this, obviously. I am one of your hosts, Tyler, joined by my fellow film connoisseur, as always, James.
How's it going? Pretty good.
Yeah,
how you doing?
Yeah, good. You'll always ask me how I'm going.
Hey, how's it going?
Before answering my question of how you're going.
Sorry, I'm wonderful.
But that's okay. Yeah, that's good. I'm alright too.
Great.
Today, our Cinema Room podcast is obviously powered by patreon.com/as always. So shout out to our Patreon producers. That's King Richard III, Ikraik, Seth, and Josh Devillier. So as I said, this is Game of Thrones, this series finale. It's all over. So again, spoilers ahead. We're going to be talking anything, everything. And as well, if you enjoy what you're listening to here and you want to hear more, obviously we have the Kill Connor Club podcast that is free to everyone. And it comes out live and then, SoundCloud, Spotify, all that good stuff. But if you want to hear even more, there's the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast exclusive to patreon.com/as always. And this podcast, The Cinema Room, comes out a week early for those sweet vintage lads. For just $1 a month, you could listen to this podcast a week early, plus the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast exclusively. There's over 60 episodes to listen to. So thank a few of those sweet vintage lads. We have King Richard III, Ikraik, Seth, Ballsack47, Kassassin, Josh Devillier, TJFL, Damian, Billy the Team Tynamite Captain Robertson, Tman or Travis, KEMOSABE Gamer, Alfie Rodbert, Casey Wood, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Jamie Brown, Smexy Dork, Lumistrad, Mario5380, Cap is Worthy, Viridian, Pinkflame313, ArunWyn, OllieTheDane, Fuck Cuck, Nib, Brendon Overlord, Ravjai, Julie, Prudhvi Muvva, Oscar, Benedict Parker Returns, James and Lad, Connor Durose Bully in the Alleys, Ahir Gene, Zeek Collins, Son of a Bitch, Ogeaidogo, Dammit Glenn, Furious Coco, the ACMJS, Delta R Rodriguez, Kyle, S Jaws, Kyle Marvel, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, Ginko Swag, Baby Boy, Mass the Bass 2434, Yazen Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Elsico 91, Joe A.K.A FoundedScarab, H-Bars 12 I got Lumbago, Iron Man's for the Dads, Brian Ford, Casper, Milk Boy Shields, Fishy, and Andrew Martinez. Thanks, you sweet vintage lads, for helping power this podcast.
Great.
I'm out of breath. Yeah, here we are. Game of Thrones. I'll tell you what, man. I almost sent you a message yesterday saying I don't want to do this podcast.
What is that?
I don't want to talk about Game of Thrones.
You don't?
I just don't want to talk about it. I'm overhearing people talk about it. I'm over listening to people talk about it. Every podcast I listen to, whether it's a movie related, TV show related, Game of Thrones related podcast, they're just like, oh, did you watch Game of Thrones last night? And I just hate everything. I'm so sick of people talking about it. I'm so sick of it. It's over now. I can't wait to move on with my life, to be honest. I just can't wait to move on with my life.
I think that's how I felt.
Yeah,
I put out a tweet saying, pretty much the same. It's
except I think for different reasons. I think
potentially. I think when I watched it, I think I predicted how you'd feel about it, but we'll see if I was right.
Okay, how did you think I would okay, first of all, I think you didn't like the season finale, and I think you're mad at the last couple of seasons for being rushed, and you're just a bit disappointed overall with the ending. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate on the whole.
What do you think I felt about?
I thought that you would. I don't think you necessarily liked it, but I do think that I mean, I don't really like all of it, but I think that there's moments that you probably liked in it that I probably disliked.
Yeah.
But I think overall you probably thought the episode, I think you could probably see where it was bad, but I don't think you disliked it as much as I dislike it. Yeah. I feel like there's going to be a bit of a difference here.
Yeah, you're probably right. I I thought it was fine. If I would use the word, like, I'd be like, that was fine. That was fine. Wasn't like, I'm not going to go and tell people how good it was or that it was good at all. I'm not going to be like, dude, did you watch Game of Thrones? How was that series finale? I'd just be like, okay, I just want to stop.
It
I
ended.
just want to stop talking about it.
The show
because,
ended. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like, I don't not want to talk about Game of Thrones, James, because I didn't like it. Because I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed. I think I'm really sad that Game of Thrones is over. I think Game of Thrones is the best show in television history. For the last 10 years, it has been the benchmark beyond any show that it has ever done in terms of production in a huge way. Cinematography, it's just storytelling to that level on a television screen. It's changed television forever. You want to look at Star Wars doing live-action TV shows, MCU doing live-action TV shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You have Game of Thrones to thank for that. That TV shows spending that much money on them, making them that big with a viable budget in return. You have Game of Thrones to thank for all these big shows coming. Because there's nothing like it ever before. Yeah. And the only reason there's anything like it again is because it did so well. And when I look at Game of Thrones as a whole, I am satisfied. There's a lot that could have been done better. So much. If I was in charge. But I don't necessarily know if I would have done it differently in a story sense. I just would have done it better is the way I'm going to describe this when it comes to the ending. So that's where I'm at. And I'm just sick of people, whether they I don't care if they loved it, are okay with it or hated it. I just don't want to hear people talk about it because I think I'm at the point where it ended and I'm kind of a bit emotional about it. Like, that show meant, it's not that like Game of Thrones meant so much to me. There's movies that meant way more to me. Kingdom Hearts, the game series means way more to me. But I think the characters meant so much to me that I'm like, I don't even want to hear people fucking bitch about it. I'm so sick of hearing people bitch about it.
well, you're in for it today.
No, I know. That's what I'm like. I just don't even want to talk about it. I just want to be like, that was my experience with the show. Let me live in it. And then I don't want to talk about it to anyone ever again for the rest of my life. Like, just leave me alone.
Sure. I mean, I feel a bit drained by it all. It's all over social media and everything. And I mean, it's happened now, so that's it. It's done. I tried rewatching the ending because I mean, the first half of the episode I actually really liked a lot.
You didn't like the second half? The
second half of the episode, I remember I was watching it and I felt nothing for the entirety. Like, not even, it wasn't until the credits rolled where I reflected on it and I felt just disappointed. I didn't feel disappointed while watching it. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel anything. I just felt nothing watching it. I was like, this is doing nothing for me. Not even in a bad way, not in a good way. And that was really,
You're emotionally detached from it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had been dead to me a little bit for a while, to the point where I just sort of didn't care. I was expecting it to be bad, and when it happened, I was like, honestly, I was a little bit bored by it, because the first half of the episode, up to, obviously this is, complete spoilers for anyone that didn't know, I'm just going to start spoiling things now, up to the point where Jon kills Daenerys, I was loving it. I was like, this is great, and after that point, honestly, I was just bored. I thought it was all really boring.
Well, after that point, it was just the endings. It was the many endings of the show. Like, the climax of the show was Jon killing Daenerys. That was the climax moment of the whole show.
Yeah, but I expected, after that point, there'd be moments, like character moments, where I would be satisfied, and I'm like, oh, that's a nice moment. Like, there were nice things, like Brienne writing in Jaime's little biography. You didn't
like Arya's ending, or?
I didn't dislike it, but I also wasn't
I thought she had the best well-rounded.
I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I guess.
I thought of every character, she had the most well-rounded, like, start-to-finish story arc.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it took a bit. There's little things though that are weird. Like, I mean, she trained to be a faceless man, and then after killing Walder Frey, just sort of didn't use it ever. Like, she sort of, she had her fighting skills and stuff, but she never used the face thing again for some reason.
She used it for Walder Frey.
Yeah, but then why did she not
What
ever
else did she
use it
need it
again? Well, she could have like.
What she needed
I feel like they could have taken.
Give me an
it
example
somewhat,
where she could have used it. Just
I
give
feel
me an
like
example.
They definitely could have taken it into consideration when attacking King's Landing. They definitely could have at least brought it up, and then Arya could have like disputed and been like, "Oh no, we can't do that because of this reason." If they didn't want to do it, but like it's weird that no one thought, "Oh, maybe you could do that," especially Sansa. Like, she knows all about it. It's just a bit weird to me that nobody even thought to even try. Because she managed to get into the twins and kill Walder Frey with nobody knowing. And that was by using her face thing. So, she could have at least tried to get into King's Landing and kill Cersei. But...
I mean, she did try with the hand.
Yeah, but she didn't try and... She didn't disguise herself. She was just herself walking through King's Landing. It was just a bit weird. It was like... I find it weird that was never even brought up as a viable option at all. No one even thought of it.
Yeah.
But I think that comes from the rushed nature of it, the fact that they had to squeeze all these things into such a small space. There's, if it were in, like the books, or if they did stretch it out to 10 seasons, I think there's so many more storylines, characters, and things they could have considered that could have come into play, but I just think there's so many moving parts that they had to focus on the main things, and that's partly due to the fact that they only had 8 seasons, and in this season there was only 6 episodes. And they had to conclude 2 major story arcs, and I mean 3 major story arcs if you're counting the Night King, Cersei, and Daenerys. So,
well, then and every other character,
and then you've got all the other characters there as well. But honestly, I just didn't feel anything while watching it, to be honest.
Wow. Okay. That's really sad, man.
Which was, it was. When it finished, I just, normally, because I expected when it finished to just feel sort of empty. Like, when you finish something that's really good that you love and you have that empty feeling, you're like, oh, what do I do with my life now? Like, I got that after, Red Dead or, Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, of course.
That feeling. I expected that, but I didn't have that. It was just an absence of emotion. It was really strange.
I felt very empty. I had a really hard time sleeping last night. I felt so empty. Oh. But it was more like, I think it was Game of Thrones for sure. But then I was like, Kingdom Hearts is over. I tweeted it. I was like, Kingdom Hearts is over. Game of Thrones over. Avengers over. I've got nothing left. I'm done.
You got nothing left.
I've got nothing left.
That's it. There's nothing.
I don't play games anymore.
We don't need to watch movies or watch TV either. So.
No, I've completed it. I've completed it.
Oh God.
I've completed it. I had a bit of an existential crisis, to be totally honest, last night. It made me rethink my whole life. And I'm not even joking. It was kind of like... it wasn't to do with, all these things being over. That's ridiculous. It was like... That's so ridiculous. It was like... I was thinking to myself about... What the fuck? I just felt this emptiness and just sort of I don't know, big shows like a Game of Thrones reminds me, and especially this season was very Lord of the Rings-esque, or trying to be Lord of the Rings in a lot of ways.
I got a point to make about that later on, but carry on.
Yeah. It was just a worse version of all things. Yeah, and I think those sorts of things kind of inspire me a bit when I think about seeing the production, seeing just epic stories told and wrapped up, and the way writing's done, and good and bad. And it just makes me think about, since I was a kid, I've wanted to make movies, and I kind of have, since you finished uni, I just kind of haven't really thought about it. And I kind of had this big existential crisis last night. I was like, Tyler, that's what you're supposed to be doing. What the fuck are you doing? Somehow I connected it all to I had this empty feeling, and I was like, what do I fill it with? It's because I think about, I want to make shows like that. And then, I would do this differently. I would do that differently. I want my chance to make things. And yeah, I guess I just had that moment last night. I was like, fuck, I got to sort my life out. I got to figure it out. That's what I got to be doing. That's what I got to be doing my time.
I want to watch Tynamite's big TV show. I want to be the first to watch it. And then tell you how it's shit and the writing's bad. And I don't like it.
Yeah.
Better watch it.
I can't wait. Yeah. But okay, I got a couple questions for you. Okay. Looking back on it, the way all the characters wrapped up, I think everyone on Earth can agree, rushed.
Yeah.
Whether you like that or not, even the things I liked, I was like, that could have been way more impactful if more time, right?
Yeah.
Now my question is, in spite of that, is the reason you don't like it and you feel disconnected because the rush nature of it is kind of ruined the impact of events? Or is it that you see the way characters ended and you're like, didn't want that. I wanted this to happen.
I think it's a combination, because I think you could have probably sold me on any ending so long as there was sufficient setup for it.
Yes.
And I think there's other endings that you probably could have rushed and I would have been okay with it. But I think that this ending specifically is one that couldn't be rushed, because it's sort of, I mean, especially Bran being king, is one that you needed to sell me on that. You can't just, like, because you could rush Jon Snow being king, and I could be like, yeah, this is rushed, and here's the faults, but also Jon Snow's king, so there you go. Like, yeah. Whereas 100%. If you're making Bran Stark the worst character in the show king, you need to give that time. And cutting him out of season 5 only then to make him king is the strangest decision. You can't tell me they had this in their mind back then. But it's also not a decision.
It's also not a decision. Yeah, it was in their mind because it's how it ends in the book. George R. R. Martin told them they've known the ending since the start.
So why would they skip a season with potentially the most important character? The one that becomes king.
He's definitely not. Okay, I don't think he's the most important character at all.
But you know what I mean? The one who became king had to be satisfying. That's
sure,
what the whole
but
show's about.
No, it's not.
Well, it's called A Game of Thrones.
No, it's not. Yeah. But it's not what this show was about. It's not what the Song of Ice and Fire was about.
They're very different though. Like, there's a reason this is called.
But
Game
they're not.
of Thrones,
But they're not.
And not
it's not really. It's actually more of a marketing strategy when they called it Game of Thrones as a show and not the Song of Ice and Fire. Game of Thrones
sure, but they also have very different.
Name. I promise you, a HBO team sat in there like, we're not calling it Song of Ice and Fire, and Dan and Dave are like, but that's what it's called. And they're like, no, we're going with Game of Thrones. I promise you.
Sure. Okay.
That was what happened. The Song of Ice and Fire was about Jon Snow.
Right.
That's what it was about. It was about that. It was about him saving the world and the wheel being broken. And all these characters. Jon was the main character. I think we can agree he's the number one main character of the show.
Yeah.
With close supporting Daenerys, Tyrion. Like, there's so many characters that impacted this story. And the story was, I mean, there's many elements, but a big part of this world was, breaking the wheel of showing. Well, the whole thing, like the way it ended, was like he's breaking the wheel and creating a new way for this world. But a lot of it was, a demonstration of power and how power corrupts. And then you have someone incorruptible like Bran, who's the best option, and then people voting on it, and it not being a king lineage, and also all these other threats and uniting together. And there's so many themes. It's hard to keep track of, especially with the last season being chucking so much into it in such a short span of time. But in terms of like character, because we can sit and break down things for hours and it would bore the shit out of me and you and everyone. In terms of character, Jon, they talked a lot about in the books. There's Azor Ahai, this prince that was promised. Rhaegar Targaryen thought he was either the prince that was promised or one of his children would be that, and he knew it wasn't one of his children. With the fucking Dornish bitch, I forget her name for whatever reason. He married Lyanna. He thought his children with Lyanna Stark would be the prince that was promised. Jon Snow's born, Aegon Targaryen, and he grows up a bastard. Joins the Night's Watch, dies, comes back to life, unites the wildlings with the North, takes back the North, becomes king of the North after being revived from the dead, and then spends his time uniting the greatest army the world's ever seen to fight all these enemies of each other, to fight against the undead threat and monster that's approaching to save the world. And they talk about this weapon called Lightbringer, and that's how he's going to defeat it. In the end, I see it as Arya was that weapon of the prince that was promised, of Azor Ahai, Arya was the weapon. I mean, Jon Snow gave her a fucking sword in the first episode.
Yeah. You
know
never
what I
take
mean?
these prophecies literally, and I think George
Yeah.
R. R. Martin said
There's elements to it. Like, Jon Snow didn't have to be the one to kill the Night King to be Azor Ahai. He's still Azor Ahai. He's the reason they're all there.
Yeah.
Arya's big reason Arya is who she is because of having Jon. You know?
Yeah.
And it's fitting that he gave a sword, a weapon to Arya in the first episode of this show, and she's the one that kills the Night King. You then have this Targaryen, not just of who he was and why he's in the place, you know, as Bran said, he's exactly where he's supposed to be. Jon had this Targaryen lineage. That's what connected him with the dragons. That's what connected him with Daenerys, this woman that spent her whole life on a search for power, who had these great ideas, great goals in mind, but was very cruel and unwavering to her enemies. And in the end, it was this story, no doubt about it, rushed. No one's going to catch me disagreeing that this wasn't rushed as fuck when it came to the ending of it all. But nonetheless, the story was... Like, it was a story about someone that was corrupted by power and lost their way with delusions of their own destiny. And we see it when you're in real life with any politician that goes in like, I'm going to make a difference, and they have all these good ideas, but when they see the system and they're too involved in the system that is so corrupt in power, and they start playing the game the way it has to be played to win, all of a sudden they're not who they were when they entered. They're just like everyone else. And Daenerys became that. And Jon Snow, who was close to her, who loved her, had to kill the one he loved. And it wasn't so he could then become the king because he's the one true heir technically, which he was. It was because he made the sacrifice. Like, he was either going to die by execution or at some point or backstabbing from her, or maybe he married her and he just had to live with the fact that she would do horrible, unforgivable things to the world. Or kill the one he loved, and he would lose everything because of it. You know, he would never got to walk free. Jon Snow saved the world twice. He's did everything. Sure, there's a million other characters that had parts to play and roles to play, but he's the main character. When I look at this show, and the way he ended, I kind of... You know, it's not how I imagined it ending. It's not how I predicted it to end for Jon. I thought he'd either die or be king. That's what I thought would happen, you know, in my mind. Or, you know, maybe he could live, but he would just deny the throne or do something. But him, it's not... His ending was true to his character, not the character of, like, Aegon Targaryen, the secret Targaryen who's actually the heir to the Iron Throne, because that's not who he ever was. He never... It's who he technically is, but it's not who Jon Snow is. Jon Snow is an honourable man. He's a Stark. He's more like Ned than any of the other children. And he will always be honest to a fault, to the point where even though Daenerys' body and the dragon have gone, he obviously told everyone that he killed her. You know, like, that's what he's like. And he then, you know, in his life experiences, he joined the Night's Watch and he saw the problems with that. But he was always loyal to it. But he had this connection to the free folk, and he fell in love with Ygritte, and he had those conflicts, but he knew what was right in helping them, and they became loyal to him, the wildlings. But Tormund said for so many years, and I never really thought about it because I never thought it was really that relevant. You know, you got too much of the North and you, the real North. You've spent too much time with this. You'll never be a kneeler again. And the only person he then knelt to after that point was Daenerys, and he did say, you know, you're my queen now and always. And I believe he meant it. The only queen, you know, that he'll ever serve again. The only ruler he'll ever serve again. Yeah. And then he goes free. You know, when he left when he goes to Castle Black and Jon Snow's Watch, I was kind of like, are you fucking serious? We're just going to end, he's going to be obviously the Lord Commander. And I was sitting there like...
I was like, what is there in Night's Watch? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
what's going on there?
Yeah, that's true. I'm like, I guess, you know, you never know what kind of... I think they need to arrange and check out this fucking Night King castle and see what the fuck's up there, what sort of magic's going on. Do they have, like, little test tube babies they're just, you know, raising more, like, you know...
let's figure it out. Make sure it's all clear up there.
Yeah, exactly. So I just kind of thought, I guess... It's fitting because he ends up just where he started. Like, it's a full circle thing, but he saved the world. He played his role, but now he has to go back to what he, promised himself to from the start, which was he would be, a member of the Night's Watch, and that's for life. And again, he died. And, there's all these technicalities. But I guess then seeing, as soon as he went past the wall with Torment, well, as soon as I saw Torment, I'm like, fuck, he's gone with Torment. And then he goes past the wall, and then I love the door closes and the music kind of hits, and he has that little grin. And he goes, I'm like, fuck yeah, Jon Snow goes free. He gets to live free. He doesn't have to have the weight of the world on his shoulders. This world that he's not really ever been a part of. He's always been rejected from that world. And even still, he's a Targaryen. Even with all the knowledge of everyone knowing who he was, that wouldn't help him in that world now. That would only be a tool against him, or they'd use him as a ploy against others. He can't live in that world. He just can't, being who he is. Mm-hmm. He has to leave and be free, and in that way, the Targaryen line will live on, because you never know what sort of books or shows will come forward if they'll ever do a sort of sequel show in 10, 20 years' time. Set the next generation story. Targaryen blood will live on. He'll be probably king beyond the wall, and help them rebuild. And that's, awesome that Sansa's queen in the north and Bran is king of the Six Kingdoms. I'm blabbing on about Jon, but that's how I see the show. When I think about the show, I think about Jon Snow.
Yeah.
That's what I think about. And as much as I'm like, yeah, you're right, all these other things, Bran being king should piss me off. It really should. It doesn't, because I'm just like, fuck everyone. Fuck all the other characters anyway. I don't give a fuck. Jon was my guy, and I'm proud of what he did in this show and who he was from start to finish, and that he always was. I was on the Jon Snow train from the first episode of that first season, and he always, he didn't disappoint me. All the Danny train riders, nut huggers, are surely disappointed.
Yeah.
And I get that. I get if you were on the Danny train the whole time, I get it. And I was on the Danny train for a long time, but I audibly cheered when he stabbed her. When I'm sitting there with my roommate and we're watching it, and he's hugging her, we're both like, fucking do it. And as soon as we heard the we're both like, yes, fuck yes, Jon, fuck yes. We were so happy that he killed her. It's weird to think that, because I love Daenerys and I loved her so much as a character for so long. It's crazy to think that I was just like, you gotta kill this fucking bitch.
Yeah, I feel though that's a bit of an issue though. I don't think that was intentional, right? Watching it, I feel like we're meant to feel sorry for her, but there wasn't enough time to build.
What do you mean feel sorry
point
for her?
Of view. There wasn't enough time to build up. Her
I thought we were supposed to. I think we're supposed to hate her, bro.
There is no way that death was meant to just be a satisfying, fuck Daenerys. I just don't think that's what was intentional.
I was sad.
It's what we got, but
I was conflicted. I felt like Jon. I was conflicted. No doubt about I was conflicted in the sense of it's Daenerys and she's dead. But I also knew he had to do it or he's gonna die. So I was just like, fucking kill her, man. Kill her or you're dead. You will not survive in this. Because he's not gonna go with... It's Jon. He's not gonna go with her and watch her murder children. I don't care how much he loves her. It's Jon Snow.
Yeah, I just don't think that we were meant to feel like that. I mean, I've hated Daenerys for seasons at this point. She's just being... I just hate every decision she made. Every time she's just being all arrogant and everyone's trying to be like, no, don't do that. And she's like, I'm going to fucking do it. She just pissed me off, for seasons at this point. I used to love her back in, season, maybe season 1 to 4. I really, really liked her. But then she just got, I don't know. As
soon as she got to Westeros, it was tough for me. Yeah,
I mean, even when she was in, was it Marine or Karth? I can't remember which. It was Marine, wasn't it? With
Marine.
The pyramids.
Karth was season 2.
Yeah. She was annoying there as well. The amount of arguments she had with Jorah and Barristan and all of these characters that were advising her. And it's very clear they were all right and she was wrong. And she'd sometimes check herself and be like, oh yeah, you're right. But then she'd just go straight back to it again and be like, no, she just got really arrogant and
but that's
it was
what
difficult.
I'm still supposed to... Dude, she was not the good guy, man.
But she was still...
She was not the good guy.
It was tough because... It almost didn't feel like that's what they were going for though. It didn't. It's because she was still a point of view character.
You were supposed to. No, you were supposed to. I think you were supposed to feel like Tyrion and Jon felt. You were supposed to love her, but know that she has to. You're like, look, she has to go. We loved who she was, but that's not let her live. She's got to die. She is bad. Like, but you've got to be conflicted in the sense. You've got to still have that deep. I think they want to. I'm not saying that's what everyone felt. I'm just saying I think they wanted you to be like, look, we love Daenerys, but she has to die. She has to die.
Yeah.
And I felt like that. That's what I felt.
No, that's
but
how I felt too.
I'm such a big Team Jon fan that I was all about it. Like, I was like, fuck yeah, Jon's the one that did it. Fuck yeah. It was a bit of also like that Jon did it too. I was a bit like, yeah, boy. You know? Part of the Azor Ahai prophecy as well was, Azor Ahai killed his wife, the one he loved, to create Lightbringer. So that's another part of the prophecy that Jon Snow's Azor Ahai.
Interesting. What did you think about Drogon burning the throne?
Yeah.
Did you think that was funny? Or
no, I just kind of was like, I mean, I'll tell you what, man.
I actually
the Game of Thrones meme sphere is brilliant. No doubt about it.
I love the
like
memes.
in the first meme I saw when opening it up was like, it was like Drogon's either the dumbest dragon or the smartest dragon of all time. That one, like, he's either the smartest dragon and was like, that throne is what corrupted her and that's what led to her death. I'm gonna burn it down.
He understands the complexities of politics.
Yeah. Or he's just like, oh no, it can't be Jon. I like Jon. It must be that pointy chair. Die, pointy chair. Like,
I think that if we're gonna be realistic and try and make it sound like it made sense, I think it's got to be in between the two. Like, he didn't want to kill Jon because he's a Targaryen, but he felt angry, so he just happened to melt the Iron Throne. Like, I don't want to believe that he understood that the power, the power lust that she had came from her desire for the Iron Throne, and so he had to burn the Iron Throne. Like, there's no way.
I don't know. They're magical creatures. They're magical creatures, bro.
He understood that or cared as well.
Hey, bro, you don't know that dragons aren't
burned
real. Dragons aren't real, bro. Dragons aren't real.
They got tricked into being chained up under like a little tomb thing.
They were young. They were kids. Man. Okay, you can't judge kids.
Okay. It's silly. It's funny. I think that's.
I'm shocked Drogon lived. To be honest, I didn't think there'd be dragons surviving the show.
Oh, he's just gone off somewhere. He's doing his own thing. It's weird because there's a lot of things that are sort of, I guess, set up that is weird that they're not following on. Like, that's actually something that I said when I finished this is, I mean, not the entire ending felt this way, but there were certain aspects that almost felt like this was more the ending of a season than the ending of a show. Like, it felt like a closing of the show, and the way that it was done, the way that it was dramatic. You got to see, like, where the Starks ended up, and the way the music was done and everything. Obviously, it felt like the closing of a show, but it almost felt like you could do a season 9 and it would just continue on, and there's plenty of plot lines.
I don't think you could do a season 9. I think you could do a sequel series in 10 years.
Sure. All I mean is
I don't need to know what happens next week to any of these characters. You know what I mean? Like, do you?
I never needed to know. I want to know, though. I'd like to know. I'll be interested to know.
What character do you want to know what happens to him next?
I want to know if Bran dies straight away like he should. That'd be great. I want to know. To be honest, I do want to know what happened to Drogon. Like, I do want to know where the fuck he went.
But you can find that out, like, in a sequel series set 10 years after.
You got my hopes up there. I can't find out, but okay. I mean... Yeah, sure. I think that there's a lot of things in this episode. I mean, it's been throughout season 7 and 8 specifically. The direction of things isn't necessarily bad. It's just the rush nature of it makes it almost a lot of points feel unearned and dissatisfying.
I agree. I agree.
Which is a shame.
I agree with that. I think my biggest point was when I reflect on this episode was that I was sitting there thinking, I was like, okay, this is how it ended. These are how all our characters ended. Would I have done it differently if I wrote it? And I said, like, and not in the sense of, like, if I wrote it, what was my fan fiction of how the end was going to end? No. Like, if I was in the writer's room and they gave me the pitch and that's how all the characters ended, would I have said, no, don't do that to any of them? And I said, no. I wouldn't have done it any differently, like, in terms of where they ended. But there's no denying the rush nature of season 7 and 8. And when I say rush, it's condensed nature.
It's like all crammed in. Like
it's crammed in. It's a condensed nature. It's not really rushed because... And it's frustrating because it's like, you know, HBO are like, well, this is your budget for the season. You can make however many episodes you want out of this budget. And they're like, well, we need to go above and beyond with like this battle sequence and this battle sequence and this dragon sequence. So we can only afford 7 episodes, 6 episodes. And, you know, if you had a 10 episode season 7 and a 10 episode season 8, I feel like it would have been perfect. 7 extra episodes. I feel like that would have been enough.
Could have done. I mean, I would have loved. I mean, to be honest, I've said from. I mean, it was probably around season 6. To be honest, I was saying like, I would have been up for doing 10 seasons. I think that if you'd done 10 seasons, 10 episodes each, there's so many other storylines that were lost and thrown away that because you had to focus on this Daenerys, Jon, Night King stuff. That I think you could have done a lot more with character. Like Euron Greyjoy, for example, was a character that is huge in the books, but he was nothing in the show. Like he was a decent character, but like he wasn't really utilized as much as you probably could have done if you had a longer running show. Like there's a lot. If the thing is as well, like they've always said they'd do 7 seasons, so it's weird that the first like 4 seasons were so slow paced in their approach, and then season 5 and 6 pushed things a bit more. And then we got to this point, they were like, oh yeah, we're just going to do 2 more seasons and then just really ramp things up and just speed through it. It's weird that if they knew they always wanted to do 7, they ended up doing 8, but they always said they wanted to do 7. If they knew that from the beginning, why wouldn't they have had a roadmap of where they need to get to by each season so that it wasn't rushed at the end? That's a strange sort of...
I'm not sure if they anticipated a lot of things. Like, it's hard to run a show... as big as Game of Thrones. I think it's how big it got and how expansive it got and how much money they got and what the possibilities were to do with the endings, you know, where they're like, well, we can do a whole episode battle sequence rather than you condense the battle, have them be character moments, you know, when they're road mapping it. And I think a lot was lost in the spectacle. And I think Game of Thrones, like we talked about before, I mentioned at the start of this podcast, was... what Game of Thrones has done for television was create the ability to make movie quality content for television, and put that money in and it you know, get those returns and have that viewership. And I think the problem with Game of Thrones being the first of its kind to do that is that you didn't know going in. You couldn't have planned for the scale in which this show got to. You couldn't have planned for that when they started that show. That's what's failed the show to me, was how big it got, how much time it took. I mean, it took 2 years to make that season, 6 episodes, 2 years. And when you look back at the show and even just developing it, these are actors that you've signed to contracts. You're taking up 10 years of their lives. And some of them do want to move on. Some of them are ready to move on. And it's a lot of work for them. And not necessarily maybe they're like, I'm over this show and this character, but like, it's so much work. Like, I love it, but you know, I'm ready to kind of not have to spend 6 months of my year in fucking Dublin. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a lot for the creators of the show to put in. And when you have that weight of fan base, you have the scale, you have the money. There's so many elements that led to this rush. And I find it hard to blame any one thing. It just was what it was. And it was almost inevitable to happen this way.
Sure.
In some ways.
Sure, I agree. I mean, I just think that, I mean, also, like you said, the way that, you know, they got so much more money and they could do those entire episodes with just a battle sort of thing. But, I mean, at the same time, I never really watched Game of Thrones for that. It was great, and they always did it so well. Even from season 1, they did, you know, things like that really great. Like the Battle of Blackwater in season 2 was brilliant. But I mean, the major thing for me that I always loved about Game of Thrones was more the slower pace, small scale stuff, and I think that there's a lot of that that's lost in this, having a lot of, like, because the two episodes of this season, this with 6 episode season, 2 episodes of it was, you know, battles, and I think that episode 5 handled that a lot better, because there was more character moments woven into the battle, and I actually quite liked episode 5, to be honest. I thought it was maybe one of the better episodes of the season. But at the same time, episode 1 and 2 of season 8, I think, were probably the best ones. There was no fighting in those at all. It was all character moments, all dialogue, and it was really, really well done and really well paced, and it was great. But then when you get to, later episodes, they're trying to do so much. There's so much they had to do, and there's so many, you've got to do those fast-paced battles and these major events, but at the same time, you still got to try and have character moments and story developments, and try and do that all at once it must have just been incredibly difficult. And when if you look back at season 1 and 2 and 3, there was so much more time, and there wasn't so many plot points they had to do in one season as well. Like, look at Robb Stark. You've got, from the beginning of season 2 to the end of season 3 was him trying to reach King's Landing, and I mean, he never did it. He set out from Winterfell, he got his army, he fought battles, there was lots of development here and there, and then he died at the end of season 3, and that was, what was that? That's like 20 episodes. Whereas in season 8, you've got 6 episodes to get Daenerys from Winterfell about to fight the army of the undead, to 6 episodes later being killed by Jon Snow for slaughtering a city. And that's a huge difference, I think, that, they had, there's not a lot of time to do these huge things, especially when you have so many different things. You've got battles, you've got character moments and story, and a lot of ground to cover. It's really difficult. I don't envy them at all. But yeah, there's clearly a lot of issues that went into making this season feel so rushed.
I think I've come to the conclusion of why I didn't want to talk about this.
Okay.
I think it's because whether I like the ending or not doesn't matter to me. I wasn't going to allow the ending of this show ruin this show. Like it seems like everyone else is. This show is the best show in television history. Not just like as it is, but also as a person that I got to watch and follow for years and years and years. Like, the amount of amazing moments this show had, character moments this show had, it's indescribable. It's never happened before. And just for me personally, all these characters, they meant so much. This show meant so much. It's incredible. It's an incredible show. All the different things that have happened. The getting to watch with friends, to talk about it at work the next day, to watch YouTube videos and podcasts doing reactions or theorizing like R plus L equals J and is Jon Snow a Targaryen, and all these different things that were right and that were wrong. Like, that journey was amazing. Sometimes it isn't about the destination, it is about the journey. And as a fan of a TV show that's like this, it's not about the destination for me. It could have been a way shitter ending. Everyone could have just died and nothing happened. And I wasn't going to let that ruin the journey to get there. Was incredible. Undeniably incredible.
I don't disagree.
And like, I've had shows that had suckier endings than this. How Much Your Mother? Holy fuck, that was the worst thing I've ever seen in the end. Literally, I was like,
same thing. Who the fuck
dude,
cares?
No, but I'm just saying. Hey, bro, I cared a lot.
Yeah,
that meant
clearly
as much to me as Game of Thrones did. That was my favorite show.
Fuck off.
In high school, man. I loved How Much Your Mother, man. I was so into it. I was balls deep in How Much Your Mother. I remember watching that ending, being like, I hate my life.
What is the
so
ending?
empty. I'm not talking about it. Doesn't matter.
No, tell me. I want to know. Do you learn how he met your mother?
I don't want to talk about it.
Do you not learn that? Please.
It'll make me more mad than Halo 5.
I don't.
You want to know what'll make me mad?
Google
you want to
it.
make me? You want to know what's going to make me visually mad? It's talking about the fake ISIS ending of How Much Your Mother. Thankfully, on the DVD, they put the real ending on that they meant to wear, but ISIS hacked him. I don't know, and they aired it. It was the worst terrorist attack since 9/11, James. It was the worst terrorist attack on American soil since 9/11. Was ISIS getting this? Because you know how shows like they'll film 2 endings, so the cast might not know what's going to air, and spoilers can't really get out there because people won't know. They did that here, but the problem was ISIS got a hold of it and put out the wrong ending as a terrorist plot. So that's the ISIS ending that aired on television that I saw. But thankfully, the DVD has the real ending on it, so it's all good.
What was the ending?
Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna have to Google this. You're gonna make me Google the ending of How I Met Your Mother, so I can find out.
The ending of How I Met Your Mother, the real ending of How I Met Your Mother, how it really ends. So they thankfully re-edited and put on the DVD. That is the real ending, and how it ends. Is Ted meets the mother in a perfect meeting scenario, and they go through all the reasons that led up throughout the show from the first episode to that moment, all the different events that happened that made Ted who he was, that put him in different positions and situations that then led him to the exact moment where he met her. And they went through that, and then that kid's How Much Your Mother at the end. It was great, perfect. Now the ISIS ending, don't want to talk about it. Doesn't matter.
What could have gone so wrong? I don't understand.
Well, it's all about him telling the story of spoilers for How Much Your Mother for the ISIS.
Who's he telling the story? He's telling his kids.
So the whole show is him telling his kids how he met the mother. That's the whole show. Every episode you've got, you've got him, the narration going on. You got Bob Saget, who's playing old man Ted Mosby, doing the narration. And how are we talking about this? Anyway, Game of Thrones finale, How Much Your Mother's Spoilercast. So then they get to the end, and then he does the big meeting, and it's this epic moment, and this character they've built up of the mother, they kind of, finally you see her in the finale of the second to last season, and then they spend the last season, where Ted doesn't meet her, but, you see what she's doing at the time. Okay. And then you get the 200th episode of the show was a whole episode dedicated to her, and they go through her whole backstory. All the events since the first pilot episode, what happened to her that day, and her whole kind of big moments of her life. Okay. So you get to know her. So you're you don't just have this moment where you have all these characters you follow, and then you're introduced to a stranger at the finale. You're holy shit, this character's awesome. She's perfect for Ted. I was she is my favorite character on this show. They somehow made this mother they build up to the best character. And then they're they had the meeting, the epic meeting, and then this is literally what happens. And then, okay. And then this literally happens. She goes, and then she got sick. Wait, that's what happens. Yeah. So they kill the mother, and it turns out he's telling the story after the mother's died, and the kids go, "Oh, Dad, you didn't tell us that story to tell us how you met Mum. You're just trying to get our permission to date our Aunt Robin," because he dated Robin throughout the show before he met the mother, who never worked, with opposite personalities, literally, and she sucks. She's the old mate S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that's under Nick Fury, is always by his side in the Avengers movies. Same actress.
Maria Hill.
Yeah, that fucking stupid slut. Yeah.
Okay.
She, and then Ted goes, "Wait, really? You guys are okay with me dating Aunt Robin?" They're like, "Yeah, it's been years since Mom died. You need to get back out there." And then he goes and meets the bitch of a woman that he dated a million times that never worked out. And they were totally opposite characters. And in the last episode, she actually married Barney, Ted's best friend, and then they spent the last episode going years and years in the future of all the events that happened, and how they got divorced. Apparently the whole last season didn't matter. And then, the mother dies, and the show isn't about How I Met Your Mother. The show's about how your mum died, and I'm trying to get your permission to date your aunt. What? That's the show.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that was the ending of the show.
Wait.
Because the writers thought that was a good twist.
So is the mother dead when he's telling the story?
Dead when he's telling the story in the ISIS ending.
What?
Yeah. So the writers are you have a show that's called How I Met Your Mother. Imagine having a show where the ending's in the title and you somehow fuck up the ending. You know what I mean? How do you even do that? It's you have the biggest layup of all time. It's you can walk and you're playing against a bunch of cripples in basketball, and you have the easiest layup of all time, and you miss. That's what they did. By filming that fake ending and then letting it leak to ISIS. That's what happened. So, that's what happened. But they fixed on the DVD, because she obviously didn't die. She was the perfect woman for Ted, and he ended up with her, and they lived happily ever after. That's what happened. And Robin ended up alone. Robin ended up alone with the dogs and died.
Because I never, when you said that, I was how the fuck can you mess that up so badly? That is not what I expected. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Remind me never to watch that show.
That's one of my favorite shows of all time, and I've watched it 1,000 times through. It's one of the shows you can put on and rewatch, and you don't have to pay attention to it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Thanks
like
for
a
joining
Seinfeld
us
or a
on the
Friends
How I
or-
Met Your Mother spoiler cast.
Yeah,
I really
god
hope
damn
you
it, that
enjoy
makes me mad. That makes me madder talking about that than Halo 5. There's no
Really?
show,
Jesus.
game, movie that makes me madder than the ending of the ISIS terrorist attack ending of How Much Your Mother. Travesty.
ISIS ending. Well,
Worst terrorist attack since 9/11 on American soil. That's a fact. That's a
okay.
fact.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. Anyway, Game of Thrones. What were we talking about?
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember at all either. I was just saying I wasn't going to let the ending ruin the journey, and I didn't let the ending of that show ruin the journey of rewatching that show. Actually, I almost did. I was like, I can't watch the show ever again because it's meaningless. This whole show's meaningless.
Yeah,
That's what would suck.
Sort
But
of
then
how I feel
then my
actually.
friend called me after the DVD came out and goes, "Nah, dude, they fixed it." Now with this, I didn't get to the ending and go, it was all meaningless. I go, oh, it had a lot of meaning. Was it nailed? Did they nail it? Did they stick the landing? No. But, I can watch the show from start to finish again and again and again over the years and be happy,
I don't think
and
I could
enjoy
do
the
that.
process.
I think I'd be
Yeah,
depressed, to be honest. Because I'd be
Would
like,
you?
oh,
No.
I know how this ends up. And plus, the thing is, between me and you is, I also dislike Season 7 and Season 8.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge
Yeah.
fan of Season 5 and 6. They're good, they're much better. But they're still...
Season 6 is my favourite season. Season 6 is my favourite.
Yeah, I don't know why, but...
6 and 4.
Season 6
John,
is
it's
pretty
just John,
good.
bro. John, you mean John leaves the fucking Night's Watch, becomes king in the North? Dude, I love that. I was like, holy fuck.
it's good,
I
but-
never thought this would happen.
What I always liked about Season 1 to 4 was that every single point of view character was interesting. Whereas when you're in 5 and 6,
fuck everyone
John
else.
is very interesting.
Fuck all the other characters. Yeah, I don't care
But
about
everything
anyone
else
else.
is boring. What about, like,
don't
in
care.
Season 5, fucking Sansa... Is she with Littlefinger at that point? It's so fucking boring. That's all so boring.
Yeah.
I hate that so much.
thought
And
that-
then you've got
is that
Daenerys
the
sitting in
end
a
of season
castle
4?
going,
That's the end of Season
I'm
4.
gonna
Season
break
5
the
is
wheel.
when Sansa's getting raped.
Oh, it's just... yeah.
Season 4 is like the Joffrey dies.
Season 4 was
Tyrion
great.
trial. Season 4 is a great season. Season 4 is like... Season 4, Season 6 are my favorite. My reason Season 6 is my favorite is all the John stuff. And then, obviously, Battle of the Bastards. Episode 9 and 10 are my favourite 2 episodes of any TV show ever. Battle of the Bastards. And then that Season 6 finale is incredible. Like, the Take Back of Winterfell, you get confirmation of R plus L equals J. King in the North stuff. Cersei blows up the Sept was fucking awesome. Like, there was so much cool shit that happened.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Season 3 is one of my favorites. I love all the stuff with Rob. The Red Wedding is
Yeah.
an incredible,
Dead, isn't he?
incredible moment. I love
Dead,
all the
isn't
stuff
he?
in...
Didn't last long, did he?
No, but it's
Fucking
still
idiot.
better than whatever fucking all the characters that are alive now. They're all idiots. Fucking Tyrion.
Jon Snow's not an idiot. He saved the fucking realm, you ungrateful cunt.
Yeah, how many lines?
You know
did
what? He
say
didn't even
this
just save the
season?
realm. He saved
About
the
4,
world, though.
and they
Here we
were
go.
all the same
Here's the
line.
memes. Here's the memes. Here's clever James coming in with the memes.
Give me some important John lines from season.
Well, one of my
season 8.
favorite lines of this episode was the callback from Maester Aemond is "Love is the death of Judy," and I loved that reference, especially because John almost became a Maester Aemond type character, a Targaryen that had to spend the rest of his life at the Night's Watch.
Yeah, sure.
That whole conversation with Tyrion was awesome.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, like I said, I really loved the whole first half of the episode. I thought it was great. Tyrion
I'll
was
tell you what,
really good in this episode, actually.
Yeah, finally.
Probably the best
finally.
character.
He's been shit for so many
Although,
seasons.
although that speech he
He's
gave
really been
where he's
fucking it
like Bran should be king, I wasn't really convinced. I was sort of like, yeah, no.
He you know what? He convinced me that it makes sense in this. He didn't convince me as a fan of, like, that's who I want to be king, right? Like, because obviously,
Yeah.
no. But, like,
Yeah.
in terms of, like, okay,
Who
let's think
should
about
be
this.
king
In
if I
in-
lived in
Who
Westeros?
probably should be king if we live in Westeros? Someone who's got no bias, someone that kind of knows everything?
Yeah.
Probably that guy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he
yeah.
convinced me that it makes sense if I lived in Westeros.
But I
As a
don't.
viewer, I'm like,
I
when he
don't,
said,
so
yeah. Like, as a viewer of the show, I'm like, but also, he's the worst. Like, I was like, he sucks. I used to skip Bran scenes. When Bran was on screen early days, I would just be like, piss break. Shit character. And everyone would go, I remember my mum would go, you don't watch the Bran stuff? I'm like, no, fucking, he's the worst. He's not going to do anything. She's like, no, I feel like he's going to really build to something. I'm like, no, it won't though, will it? And I was right. Turned out I was right the whole time.
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
right about Bran.
The thing is, right, with Bran, when George writes the books, and if he ever finishes them before he dies, which he probably won't, he'd write Bran a million times better and make it interesting and also make it satisfying. I have no doubts that if I read A Song of Ice and Fire, which I don't think I ever will, if I did read those books, I have no doubts if Bran became king, it would be incredibly satisfying, and I would love it and be like, yeah, this is great, this makes sense, because there's so much more you can do. I'll
definitely read that last book, because I want to know what the differences are in terms of pacing.
But you're gonna pick it up, and you're gonna be like, who are all these characters that are alive, and why are all these other characters dead?
I picked up A Dance of Dragons. I read A Dance of Dragons when like the show finished and wasn't up to that yet. Like at the end of season 4, I picked up A Dance of Dragons.
Really?
And read that. Yeah.
Why?
Some of it was hard, obviously, and I had to like Google shit. But like, you figure it out.
I really do want to read them. It's called I just don't have
internet.
The time.
There's the internet exists. It's not fucking. I'm not the Stone Age. It's not that hard. There's like literally a Wikipedia for every fan show of all time. Just Game of Thrones wiki. You know what I mean? Like.
I would really love to just read all of the books, because I have no doubts they're really, really good. I just don't have time to do it. Like, I don't have time to
Who
sit
has
down.
time?
Guess what else? I didn't finish Assassin's Creed Heresy, so I'm not going to finish A Song of Ice and Fire, am I? It's not going to happen. Yeah. Maybe one day, maybe when I'm old and all I can do is, sit in a rocking chair, maybe I'll go through them all.
No, shotgun to the... Just kill me if I'm not
If all you can do is read A Song of Ice and Fire and nothing else,
just kill me.
I'll make sure. I'll kill you.
Speaking of the book A Song of Ice and Fire, is there any way this show... You know what? Split this season in half. Episode 1 to 3, episode 4 to 6. It's just 2 movies. They're not separated like normal episodes separated. They're always instant pickups. You had... 2 Towers was the first half of the season, and then they tried to do Return of the King in the second half.
Yeah.
Like, they did the moment where the first movie was fucking everyone getting together, building up, then you have that fucking Helm's Deep battle at the end, just not as good, and not nearly as good, never ever compared to Helm's Deep again when they were marketing it, and then I watched the episode, and I'm like, if you ever compare it to Helm's Deep again and say, it was bigger than Helm's Deep,
Helm's Deep's incredible.
You. Helm's Deep is one of the greatest battles of all time on screen.
I think is it not
and
like
also
the
in
best
reality.
Battle? What else is better?
No, it's number 1.
Yeah.
It's number 1, you're right.
It's
number 1. Helm's Deep is incredible.
Great.
Now, they tried to do Return of the King by like having the big payoff, but then also 17 endings. You know what I mean? Except also, Lord of the Rings earned every single ending. Yeah. Every single one. Like and George R. R. Martin always said his ending's bittersweet like the Lord of the Rings. He wanted to have a Lord of the Rings-esque ending. And it was just not as good.
Just very rushed. Yeah, it was very.
But they were really trying to be Lord of the Rings. They even did the whole book thing, like when Frodo completes the book, The Lord of the Rings. Yeah, and then they tried to do, it's A Song of Fire. I came up with the title. I was like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I thought you were the one that would write the book and you would fast forward. You'd be an old man writing it after John was king and all this shit. But just a twat with 2 bells on your chain. Fucking idiot.
What? Oh, God.
You had no reason to survive. I thought you were like the reason, like there was a reason you had to live through all this. But nah, you should have just died.
Yeah, true. There's no reason. No, he had to come up with a name. No one else could have come up with that name.
True.
Why is it called that as well?
What do you mean?
Is there a reason why it's called that in the game, in like Game of Thrones? Like I don't. Why has he called it that? Because a majority of the history that they've got there doesn't really have a lot to do with Ice and Fire. Like, it's a big part, but it's not like it's a major event, but it's not.
I'll give you 2 things. Fire being like the whole build of Daenerys, and then what led to the burning down of King's Landing. Like it's fire, Targaryen fire. Then you also have the north of the White Walkers and their army. Plus, the main hero of the story is half Stark, half Targaryen.
I mean, it makes sense for the name of the books, like the Song of Ice and Fire.
Or as a book, I see what you're saying.
But
okay,
why
I see
is
what
it?
you're saying.
Why is the one in the show?
I think you're asking me just in general.
Oh no. Yeah,
in the show.
Why did Sam call it
just
that?
because that's what the book's called. Oh, that's what you meant. Well, that's why.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself at the time, I was like, oh, that's kind of nice, but I don't get it. Like, I'm a bit confused here.
I know, I get you.
And there was that weird scene as well where Tyrion's alone in the small council room and he just straightens all the chairs. It was really... Why was that scene like a bit of a meme and everyone's having a bit of a joke? It was really weird. It kind of caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I felt was a bit strange. And then Bran goes, oh, where's the bloody Master of Whisperers or whatever? And it's like, why do you need one of them when you can see everything? That's a weird request.
But he doesn't just see everything all the time. Like, he has to choose where he goes.
He could, like, though. He knew a lot of things.
He didn't know where Drogon was. Like, where's Drogon? And he's like, I'll try to find him. You know what I mean? Like, you need a Master of Whisperers. And then he can be like, oh, this person's doing this. And he also, if his Master of Whisperers won't be trying to plot against him because he'll look into the whole backstory of the Master of Whisperers through his life and be like, oh, no, I can trust you.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Whatever.
Now, we did our last Game of Thrones spoiler cast. We both didn't like the battle. Like the Long Night battle.
Yeah.
Disappointed. That was my least favorite episode of the whole series. That was my least favorite episode of the whole series.
The whole show? Or the whole season?
The whole series. Yeah, the whole show.
Oh,
my least favorite episode was that, just because it was so disappointing and so dumb.
Yeah, I don't know if it's mine, but...
Yeah, it's down there.
Yeah,
now, I really enjoyed the fourth episode. Like, that next episode, I was like, oh, I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
Because it got back to being about the Game of Thrones, the Varys Tyrion stuff, it was very good. The Targaryen, like all the secrets and whispers. And it was nice to see that again, which really was just leading to Varys getting killed, and the doubt against Daenerys being built in her ranks. That was really what it was. Episode 5, where Daenerys is then burning the city down, like, was very shocking, and I did get it. I saw it come. I thought she was going Mad Queen the whole time. Did I think it was going to that scale? No, but I was still like, okay. I mean, I liked it. It again, rushed, but I can live with it.
Yeah, don't dislike the direction. It's just the execution of it.
But that's like anything. Everything was the direction. Like, when I look at it, I'm like, I like that Sansa's Queen of the North. It makes total sense to me. Yeah. I like that Tyrion ended up being the Hand. Like, if you told me that's how Tyrion ended, I'd be like, cool. Early on. Like, cool. Sansa's Queen of the North. All right, yeah, she gets stronger. I really like Sansa this season. She was the character that I didn't like in the other seasons that I really liked this season. Whereas I feel like every other character that I liked, I hated this season, other than like Jon and Arya. I loved the three main Starks. Bran doesn't count because he's doesn't have a penis. Apparently.
He's the three-eyed raven anyway.
Three-eyed raven anyway. Yeah. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that I liked how Arya ended, and I even said whilst watching it, and she goes, I'm not coming back north. And I just I said out loud, I go, what's west of Westeros? And then she goes, what's west of Westeros? My roommate looks at me like, what? I'm like, dude, I fucking knew it. Fucking knew it. She... I liked how she ended. She wasn't supposed to stay in one place. She's supposed to travel, journey.
Yeah. And that was set up ages ago as well when she said that before. So
yeah,
exactly. Didn't come out of nowhere. Yeah, you know what? I do actually quite like that.
Arya, I think, had the best complete arc. In terms of because she got rid of that whole vengeful side and everything from the Hound stuff, and that whole Hound relationship was such a great one, and that paid off really well in episode 5. Like, Clegane Bowl lived up to the hype. That was solid. That was very good. Clegane Bowl was great. Arya and the Hound stuff was great, and that she called him Sandor and everything. That paid off, that story arc, and then Arya not needing to be about vengeance, and she didn't go up to go... I thought she was going to come up and just try to kill Daenerys, but she just got up to Jon and goes, Jon, you need to stop her. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. She knows how this works. She's figuring it out. She spent the whole episode 5 helping all those people in the city. I'm like, oh, she is who she's supposed to be now. She's Arya Stark. She's not a faceless person. She's not no one, but she knows who she is. She's not a person who's going to stay in one place and get married to Gendry, Baratheon, though I loved that he was, legitimized as Baratheon. That was cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot I liked about direction. A lot I really liked. A lot that I was okay with. But, yeah, again, everything comes down to, I think, this whole season of not enough time to digest, not enough time to build it, not enough time to make it mean something. The biggest moment in the history of this show should have been that moment with Jon and Daenerys at the Iron Throne.
Mm-hmm.
That was the climax of 8 years. Not 8 years, 10 years, 8 seasons. That was the climax, was that. And it made an impact on me. But not as much as it should have. It should have been 10 times more impactful to me. And I can understand why it wasn't majorly impactful.
Yeah.
Like, that was supposed to be the biggest moment. And yeah, it was, I liked it and it was good, but the only writing change I really would have made was, Jon's been kind of pulling back from her for a while, so I wasn't really, that human-to-human connection of Dany and Jon was already kind of faded away. So to make it impactful in that moment was difficult. Whereas if they had them just, even Jon, though Jon was kind of a bit about it, if he was just fucking her that whole season, and they were like in love the whole time, even when she's doing wrong things, he's just in love with her, that would have been, even just then, it would have been rushed, but still more impactful than what it was.
Yeah.
Plus, if you didn't have the cramped time frame.
Yeah. I think that's just a thing. Like, I mean, this again, like, something else that I think makes this season feel a bit odd and disjointed is the pacing is so different. Like, I think that Game of Thrones set a precedent for its pacing the way that it did it the first 5 seasons. Season 6 was also paced very similarly, although there was a bit, there's less characters, but so it was paced a bit quicker. But I mean, you even have, like, after Jon kills Daenerys, right away it's like a big time jump. Straight away, the next scene is like, must have been weeks later, because Bran is in King's Landing. Everyone's in King's Landing, and you can tell because really Tyrion's got a big old beard, and so's Jon. I mean, not that long, but longer than it was. And so, like, yeah, it's just weird because if you'd have had much longer seasons, you could have, because in season 1 when Ned was taken prisoner, you had episodes of him being in prison where you developed, what was he going through? How was that affecting politics? I'm not saying you could have done it the same way, because there's a lot of
and what was the politics going on trying to get him out of there?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, you could have seen what Sansa was trying to do. Yeah,
like you could have. When Jon was in prison, you've got a couple episodes where Jon's in prison. And like word gets to the north and to the different areas, and that you see how all the lords of Westeros are trying to figure it out and be like, what's going on? Do we have a plan? Like, and then that all then culminates when they all meet, and you could have that be a moment. Then you have Tyrion,
you can really establish all of those characters at the council. Like, how's Gendry doing at Storm's End?
Yeah.
What's the realm like now? The whole realm. Yeah. I agree, man. Like, I'm totally with you.
Building, fleshing things out, fleshing out characters and their stories, rather than just going for those major story beats, which is what season 7 and 8 did for the most part. But that's because of the the time frame. Yeah,
and like I totally agree with you. Because what does that do in turn? Yeah, sure, it makes it a longer show and you get more characters on, but it makes all those big story beats that they're hitting more meaningful. And that's what this ending 2 seasons lacked. I agree with you. And I was a defender of season 7 because I thought it would pay off, right?
Which makes sense.
And I get what... Yeah. And I think I just get... Yeah. Season 7's not as high for me as it was. It's one of the lowest. I like it better than season 8, probably.
Yeah, I might do. Yeah, I think I probably do.
Would you say season 8's the worst season of the show?
Yeah, probably. I think so. I think it's probably my least favorite. It's down there with maybe like season 7, 8, and then I mean the rest of it is good.
5 was tough for me.
Although for me season 5 is boring. Although it has
Hard
some good
Home
moments
was in
like
there.
Hard
That was
Home,
really good. Yeah.
It's I don't think I think season 1 to 6, although I think season 1 to 4 is sort of in its own little section. Then you've got 5 and 6, which sort of pair together, and then you've got 7 and 8. And I think that 1 to 4 is at the top. You've then got 5 and 6, which are sort of the next down, and then you've got 7 and 8, which are at the bottom. And I think that is a lot of that is probably due to the pacing of it, to be honest with you. I think that although there's you know, there's other factors like quality of writing, the actual storylines they're telling, whether they were interesting storylines to begin with. But I think pacing is a huge part of it, and the fact that they're
also
so
the
condensed.
lazy motherfucker George R.R. Martin. Stop fucking writing the book.
Yeah, if he
How
hadn't
about
done
that? How about this
we'd have the
lazy
source
motherfucker?
material.
We would have the source material to make this good if he didn't get all famous and then go, I'm just not going to write. I'm just going to go around and get my dick sucked by the whole world and then do book tours, make shitloads of money, and not write dick for 7 years and then fuck us over. It's his fault. If you're like, this series is rushed, fuck you, D&D, Dumb and Dumber. How about fuck George R.R. Martin? You're not finishing the fucking book series.
I guess you could put it on him.
Asshole. I put it all on him. Fucking idiot. Son of a bitch.
You put it all on
because
him.
You're going to get the book, because you're going to get the books, and I bet you they're going to be fucking great. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I bet they're going to be great. It's like, hey, man, fuck you. You ruined this for everyone.
Yeah. I mean...
I'm not reading your shit
there you go.
book.
You could have just not adapted it into a show until it was finished. Actually, that is a weird thing that they were like, oh, why don't we adapt this book series into a show that's not
because there's
finished
7
yet?
books, and he had 5 of them done. And he was supposed to be
suppose so.
halfway through the next one. It's like, hey, bro, surely you're going to finish. Surely there's no way we can catch up with your 5 books. Let alone, he didn't even put out, between the first season airing and the end of the show, no books.
True.
None. Not like one book
Been
and he was
8
writing the
years.
last one, we didn't get there. No books. None. No books.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing as well. Like, how old is George R. R. Martin? He's pretty old. Right.
Yeah. Old enough, should have finished.
I struggle to believe he's gonna release both Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring before he dies.
He is fat as fuck.
He's
so,
probably he's fat and old, so
yeah.
he's gonna die. How old is he? I'm gonna Google it. George R. R. Martin. He's 70. Oh, he's fucked.
He's done. He's fucked.
He is
He's
so fucked.
Are
How
you
is he
telling me
still
he doesn't
alive?
already have every diabetes and heart disease? Are you trying to tell me that?
Oh, he's fucked.
catching.
That's it. It's never getting finished.
He's catching cardiovascular disease like it's fucking Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh no. Yeah, those books are never getting finished. He could release Winds of Winter, but I don't think you're gonna get Dream of Spring. I don't think he's gonna do it. That's too much.
Unless he hurries the fuck up.
Yeah, and like if he's releasing them as he has been, if he wants to wait 8 years after releasing Winds of Winter, it's not happening.
You think he's living to 80? No chance.
It's not happening. Oh god.
And it's just,
I hope
they're
he
making
does.
all these
I hope he does
spin-offs.
it.
It's like, dude, write everything you can about this world so that we have enough source material to make Westeros shit forever.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Like, it doesn't have to be books, just write source material, like history books.
Yeah,
that we can
like
base shows
Tolkien
off.
did. He's got loads of stuff there.
They're still putting out books, man.
Yeah.
All the time.
That's
Every
what we
couple of
need.
years, there's a new Middle Earth book that comes out, like from poems and stories that he wrote about. Like, none of them are Lord of the Rings scale. None of them ever will be. But it's just like poems he wrote when he was in, when he was teaching, and stories that are within the stories. That then be fleshed out, and appendices and notes that Christopher's then come in and written from and based it around and publishes it under J.R.R. Tolkien.
You'd think George has bits and pieces here and there. Like, you think that...
And
like,
he has put out the Fire and Ice book. Like, he has put out history books and stuff.
Yeah, he has. You'd think a writer on his level that's so good at what he does, you'd think he has, like, things everywhere. Just, like, little bits of lore and history.
He's just a Tolkien wannabe.
Like...
He's just a Tolkien wannabe.
Okay.
A fat Tolkien wannabe.
Yeah.
Not as good as Lord of the Rings. And it never will be.
I mean, I haven't read Lord of the Rings or A Song of Ice and Fire, so I couldn't say.
But you've seen the show and you've seen the movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're talking... Yeah, I mean... Of course Lord of the Rings is better.
Yeah, of course it is.
They didn't rush their ending.
Yeah. They took it so slow. Like, there's 17 of them.
Oh,
they really let you digest it.
Yeah. This is just,
hell.
I mean... we've talked a lot about the ending of Season 8, but, I mean... I liked episode 4, and I think
So
episode
do I.
5 did some good things in there. I think it's just episode 6 was yeah. I mean, like I said, I think honestly I was pretty bored by it for that second half. I was
I wasn't
and
bored. I
felt
was really.
nothing.
I think I was just excited to see where it went. I was just sitting there like, "Fuck, don't end, do not end yet." Every time it cut away or faded, I was like, "Don't fucking end yet, don't fucking end yet." I haven't seen enough yet. I haven't seen enough.
Yeah. I mean, I like how it ended where it began. And it's got very similar shots. That was really nice.
Yeah. Well, I loved John's ending. The more I think about it, the more I like it. Like, is it what I wanted for him deep down, like, in my dreams? No. No, I want him to be fucking king. He's the man. He's the hero. But if he didn't die and he's not king, it makes sense. You know, he's not going to join the Night's Watch. Fuck that. Fuck joining the Night's Watch again.
You know, he can be happy.
He saved the world twice, and his punishment is he has to go back to the Night's Watch and not live free. Own no land, father no children, all that nonsense, and all that bullshit. Targaryen bloodline's over. He's like, nah, fuck that. I'm going free. I'll never see the realm again. I'll never see my family again. That's it. Go with the free folk. I got my best mate Tman with me.
Got Ghost. He's only got one ear now.
Ghost. Yep, Ghost is there. And
I'm glad
John
he got to hug Ghost. I'm glad that happened.
Yeah.
That was nice.
And
they're together again. That's really fun. And yeah, you know what? I think that John's ending, is not what I would have picked for him. I would, you know, obviously I would have loved to see him as king. But yeah, I think it was. I also rewatching the ending. It also almost felt quite Game of Thrones in a way, that it wasn't all grand and dramatic. It was like, you know, these characters are doing what they should be doing, you know, as a consequence of their actions. This is where they've sort of ended up. I don't think it was as good as it could have been. I think it was obviously, like we keep saying, that there could have been a lot more build up and set up, and it would have been a lot nicer. But it's like, you know, because of what happened, this is where these characters are, and it just sort of felt very Game of Thrones. It wasn't like a sort of epic fairy tale ending, but it was also nice. It made sense in a way, but it wasn't. The only issue for me is it just wasn't super impactful on me. Like, I was watching it and I was just like, yeah, that didn't do anything for me. Like, there wasn't a moment where I was like, oh yeah, this is great. I feel so satisfied and sad the show is over. I was just sort of like, oh, I was waiting for it and nothing really happened. Which was, you know, I don't know. I don't even know if I went in with expectations. The only expectations I had is this is probably going to be terrible.
I remember saying, I go to Jared, I just want this to be okay. Like, before we started the episode, I was like, just be bearable. Just be okay. You don't have to be good. Just be okay.
Yeah.
And I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking back on it, I like it more than I did when I first watched it. Like, I do like John's ending. It is bittersweet when you think about it, because although he can be happy and he's free, it's sort of bittersweet in the sense where it's like, oh, that's sad that he's never going to see his family again. He's never going to go back to Westeros. He doesn't get to be king. As you know, him being a Targaryen, you know, didn't really amount to anything for him and his storyline. And that's quite, you know, it's quite a sad ending, but also it's happy because Jon is, you know, Jon's free. And that little smirk he gives when he looks back at the door closing because he knows he's free was a nice little moment. You know, he's there with sort of, you know, with, I guess they're his people now, and he's, you know, he's doing all right, and that's nice.
Well, he was always sympathetic, and he spent he spent a couple of years there, or at least a year.
Spent a decent amount of time, yeah.
With the wildlings, he fell in love with one.
Yeah.
His first love ever in his life was Ygritte, and you know, he saved those people. They fought by his side for a long time to take back Winterfell, to beat the undead, and you know, to be with Ghost and Tormund north of the wall. And he knows, he's like, I've done everything I can do. I was everywhere I was supposed to be. Saved the world, and he has nothing left in Westeros. A Targaryen can't live in Westeros safely. I don't think. Even if it is Jon. He can't be, you know, he could have been king in the north, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of was almost sitting there like, just at least fucking make him, if it's independent, fuck it. I think when Sansa goes, it'll be independent, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Jon doesn't have to be king of the realm. He can just be king of the north. I'll be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd been like, oh, that's cool. I can live with that. King of the North, that's totally... If anything, I kind of like it a little better. But King Beyond the Wall, I'm okay with that too. You know?
Yeah. That's fine. That's all good. I mean, Sansa being queen in the North was nice. It almost sort of felt a bit weird. Like, I mean, it didn't not make sense. It was like, yeah, she sort of has to be. Who else is gonna take that role? It has to be her.
She's an awesome character. She's smart. She's strong.
Yeah, she's almost like yeah. I mean, she's almost like the opposite of Cersei in a sense, in a way, because she's a good person. But she's learned a lot from from Littlefinger and from Cersei. I would say from Ramsay, but I don't think she really learned anything from Ramsay. It was just sort of persevering through that and becoming stronger. And so her being queen is it's a nice payoff for her story, and she always wanted to be queen. Like but it was like I like the way that at the beginning when she was she was a little girl, she always wanted to be the queen to a king, but now she is just the queen because of everything she's been through. She's stronger now, and she's just the queen in the North, which is nice. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, so do I. And it's a Stark. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. That was nice.
Because it's funny. I didn't know this until yesterday. Because George R. R. Martin, because I guess he knows he's dying of diabetes, that because he gave away the titles for the second and last book years ago. He said it's Winds of Winter and Dreams of Spring.
Yeah.
And A Dream of Spring. But he said his other title, he was going to call it A Time of Wolves was the last book.
Okay.
Or a time for wolves. And it really is, like, the whole ending is Stark focused. Like, the whole last montage is the three Starks.
Yeah.
And their ending.
I mean, they're the first characters
Sansa,
we see.
Yeah, Sansa, Arya, and Jon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're the main three Starks, and Brand's in there, but Brand fucking sucks so much. Again, I get it. In Vars and Westeros, who should be probably king? I get it, but also he sucks.
Yeah, so with Bran, right? This is a question: can Bran see into the future or only into the past?
I didn't think he could see in the future, but now I don't know.
Because I
feel like
it's a bit of a grey area there, because we know he can see into the past, but can he see into the future? Because he's sort of like, it's almost like he knew what was going to happen when things happen. Like, it's weird. Like, when Tyrion asked him to be king, he's like, bloody, what do you think I'm here, mate? I knew this was going to happen.
Maybe he just learns from history. He's watched so much history that he can kind of predict things really well.
Maybe. I mean, that's a bit of a stretch.
I'm stretching.
Yeah.
I'm stretching.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Hey, I'll take a stretch. I'll stretch sometimes. If I have to stretch, I want to like this, man. You don't understand? Like, I want to be happy about this all.
The weird thing is, right,
I'm going to stretch whatever I got to stretch.
Before this episode, I watched a video on why Bran should be king, and this was before Season 8 even came out. It was a really good video, and I was really on board with it. When I watched the video, I was like, actually, you know what? That kind of makes sense, why Bran should be king. And then when it happened, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So
because it's fucking Bran, and he sucks. And
he pisses me off. I'm like, I want to like you, and I want to like this, but stop being a dick. Like, why are you like this, Bran? You know,
and really, is he even
like
king? He comes into the chamber. And he's like, "Where's Drogon? Oh, east. I'll go find him. Carry on with everything else of running the fucking realm." Really, Tyrion's king, isn't he? Though Tyrion's the actual fucking.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what.
I'm not mad at that.
That's what Tywin always used to say. Is that the council
and the most powerful man in Westeros, you're stupid or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's the line.
That's the exact quote. That's the exact one. I'm certain. No. That's the exact one. That's the exact one.
Someone needs to.
Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
Can we get a picture of Tywin, and next to him is the quote, and it's like, if you think he's the most powerful man in Westeros, you're stupid. Tywin Lannister. Oh god. What a wise
don't
man.
Look it up. That's 100% the quote. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Yeah. Brilliant. Don't worry about it. That was exactly it.
Classic Tywin.
Yeah. Classic
Smart man.
Smart man.
Oh god. And I mean, talking about Tywin, it reminded me. I mean, a lot of people have been talking shit.
I miss Tywin.
I did miss Tywin as well. He was a great character. A lot of people have been talking about shit about the showrunners, saying that they're terrible, and when they ran out of source material, they couldn't handle it just because they're bad writers and all of this. I mean, they're probably not the best writers in the world. And obviously the time constraints were a big issue, because when you look at some of the original show stuff that wasn't in the books, and I always think to the Arya and Tywin stuff that wasn't in the books at all, it's so well done. Those are some of my favorite scenes, is Arya and Tywin and their conversations at what's the place called, Harrenhal?
Yes,
that's some of the best stuff in the show. I really, really love that stuff, and that was all show stuff. So, they have it in them. Clearly, they've clearly got a team that have it in them. But there's a lot of factors that clearly went into what went wrong in the final seasons of this show.
Yeah, it's a lot to reflect on. It's such a tremendous show.
Yeah. What happened to the Dothraki?
Yeah, great question. Just rape and pillaging around Westeros, I guess.
Also, did they what's going? Because it seemed so that final shot and everything. They're all in King's Landing, so they're still using King's Landing even though it's fucked. They're just going to rebuild it all.
Stop asking questions.
Also, the small council chamber looked pretty good shape. It was looking alright. There's a few cracks here and there.
You're asking a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think that's another issue that I have, is there's a lot of little things that are slightly wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
they
still had the crack, and it's funny, the crack in the floor on the map that was painted on. It had a crack in between down the neck, which is what separates the north from the realm. So
bit of a coincidence that.
Or is it? Wink, wink.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, also, there's the whole... the scene is great when Tyrion goes down and finds Jaime and Cersei. But they're sort of just under, a single layer of bricks. And it's just one pile, in the middle of the room. They could have just stepped away a little bit. And they'd be alright. That's not how the shot made it look when they died. But when Tyrion goes down, there's bricks nowhere. It's just that one. I
kind of forgot that scene happened. I really liked that, actually.
Yeah, I like
for some reason, even I was emotional. I was like, oh, fuck.
I really like that scene, but it is a bit weird that it was just a one part.
But at least you don't have those fucking dumbasses now that did they die though? Didn't see him die. Just saw bricks fall. I'm like, they're fucking dead.
Look, man.
And also they had 2 meters away. They had this whole area that had no bricks down on it. I'm like, hey, just go 2 meters across.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking idiots.
What was that about? Fuck's sake, guys.
That was funny.
It's just little things like that I think plague this season and season 7, is little oversights that are just sort of a bit silly. That are, just how did Daenerys not see the Iron Fleet when she was flying by Dragonstone? There's a lot of ships there. Should have seen them, really, shouldn't you? And it's a bit silly. And then, because when you think about it, it's it's just a dumb little thing. But then it has huge repercussions to the rest of the story. And so it's that one tiny little thing that's a bit silly is kind of really dumb. It's just, and I suppose you could overlook it in a lot of other shows, but because Game of Thrones set this precedent of doing every little thing so perfectly right, it was such a clever show with the way it did everything that it just felt so real. When you get those little things, I suppose they're bigger things in Game of Thrones because of what the show used to be. So they annoy me more in Game of Thrones than they would do in something else. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for example. It's they're just different caliber of shows. But yeah, there's that.
So if you had one word to describe the ending of Game of Thrones, and that's not necessarily just last episode, just last season, last episode, whatever. The ending of Game of Thrones. One word, what would it be?
Messy,
your feelings on
maybe?
it. Describe your feelings of it.
Messy, disappointed, all right. Something like that.
I said one word. That's 7.
There's a few single words. Take your pick. You can have one of them.
Okay. Mine was fine.
Fine.
That's
really sad. That's not how I wanted Game of Thrones to end when I was watching.
Better than because I'm not disappointed though. That would have been way worse. That would have been sad
though.
Yeah, I'm satisfied.
Are you really? I don't know.
Yeah, I know I am. All the characters wrapped up, and I'm satisfied with how it wrapped up. For
4 of them wrapped up.
Well, Daenerys, Cersei,
sure. Tyrion,
Clegane Bowl, Jaime.
I like that Bronn is Lord of Highgarden. That's fun.
Yeah, that was funny.
That's funny.
Davos is around. Sam's there. Tyrion's. Yeah, I'm satisfied. Is it again, like I've said it 1,000 times this podcast, it could have been better and meant more with more time, more energy. No one's disputing it. I'm just saying I'm still satisfied with how each character wrapped up at the end. It just would have been way better, for the reasons we've already talked about.
I think it's tough to do satisfying endings to anything, at least to please me as well. I remember I wasn't ever. I mean, this is a weird fucking comparison, but I remember finishing Harry Potter. I wasn't very satisfied by it. I was like, that was. I mean, the final scene's cool, like the flash forward. I'm like, yeah, that's good. I liked that. That was nice. But honestly, the final battle with Voldemort. This is the weirdest fucking tangent. Is really underwhelming. Yeah, that does suck. It's like, oh, they didn't do anything. Their wands just sort of do their little lightning connecty thing, and then Voldemort dies for some reason. I guess it's because they killed all the other Horcruxes, so he gets less powerful. But I don't know. They didn't really explain how that was a thing. Does he feed off them? I don't know. Yeah, this is a weird complaint for Harry Potter, but
yeah.
Yeah,
no,
my point being, I just think when something's very long running,
very tough.
It's very difficult to please
like
me.
Kingdom Hearts 3, you're a bit too harsh.
I mean, that wasn't even
like
an
you were
ending,
telling me.
Like
True. I mean,
I
it
think
wasn't
that
ending.
was it. That was what bothered me more, is that I expected an ending, but Nomura never saw it as that. It was always the next step in a chapter. He just took far too long to do it, so it felt like it was building to an ending when it really wasn't.
He really did fuck us over in terms of the waiting. Why? Why do I have to wait 13 years?
But I like Kingdom Hearts 3.
But we're gonna get a
Game of Thrones. So
yeah, and we're gonna get a Kingdom Hearts 4 way sooner, than we got Kingdom Hearts 3 sort of thing. So it's gonna be okay. I get what you mean, but Kingdom Hearts 3 is what I was waiting for so long. So it's kind of like an ending to me, and I think maybe, I don't know. I'm okay with things not being perfect. I guess I don't know. I don't think
things not being perfect. It's just
because I remember when you were telling me like I had issues with parts of Kingdom Hearts 3 before I even finished it, and then I played it and I was like, I don't know what you were mad at. I was totally fine with it. Was it a bit kind of Disney cookie cutter? Yeah, but like I mean
that's always fine. It's just
pretty fucking good.
I think the main issues I have with things is when things have been perfect, when they suddenly aren't, I'm disappointed by it, because I think Game of Thrones. Well, we've
also been spoiled, even just in the last month, with probably the best conclusion to one of the biggest things in history, which is the Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, that's the most satisfied I think I've ever been.
I agree. I think it's the most satisfied I've ever been since the Lord of the Rings.
And
I was 8 years old.
Yeah, it's very satisfying.
Like when that ended as a kid, I'm like, that's how you end things, and then nothing's lived up to it. But then I watched Endgame, I was like, I've never been that satisfied with anything I've ever been invested in as much as I am right now since Return of the King. I had a lot of Return of the King moments, like flashbacks to like how I felt afterwards.
Yeah.
Like Avengers, we got spoiled. That's how you wrap shit up. That's how you pay off.
Yeah, true.
That's how you take time.
There's not many things that I've been super satisfied with. You've got things like Red Dead Redemption, those 2 games. I was incredibly satisfied. The Uncharted franchise, that concluded really, really well with Uncharted 4, Nathan Drake's story. That was really, really good. Mm-hmm. Movies, you got like Lord of the Rings. Obviously, that was really, really good. I only watched it recently, but obviously. Still great.
Yeah.
I can't really think of many things where I finished it and I was like, wow, I'm so satisfied. It's more it's harder to do with long running series of things, whether it be movies, TV shows, games. It's harder to do. Whereas because I've been very satisfied with the ending of singular things, but that's way more common. But when you have these long running things, trying to conclude it in a way that is meaningful and satisfying, I think is increasingly difficult. So, I think I always felt that I wasn't going to be satisfied with Game of Thrones. I mean, we said it last spoiler cast when we did the first 3 episodes this season. Yeah. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be satisfied. And I went in thinking that. And I wasn't. So, we predicted that well. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be fine. And I think that's how I felt. I think a lot of people are kind of set themselves up for whatever they wanted with this show, because I think a lot of this show is what you make of it, and I think if people are enjoying it, they would have enjoyed the ending, and I think if people hated it, they were going to hate it. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are hating for the sake of hating it, because it's the cool thing to do, Whereas like some people, it's like they have their criticisms, but I really do think there's like a 50% of these people complaining it just like it's cool to hate Game of Thrones, and I only started watching it season 5 anyway, so what the fuck do I, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like who the fuck cares? It's, look at all these flaws. Like, I think there are things that I do like about this final episode, but it's almost like when things have more flaws to me than they do positives, I tend to overlook the positives, and vice versa. People always say to me, with some of the recent Assassin's Creed games, I'll just be like, oh, it's fucking shit. And they'll be like, what about this thing? What are all the positives? I'm like, I don't care about the positives because I don't like this thing. It's not worth it to me to look at the positives. And I think,
Assassin's Creed's been kicking us in the nuts for the last 8 years. It's very different.
That's also true. But I think with this,
as long as Game of Thrones has been on the air, that franchise has been kicking us in the dick.
Yeah, I think with this final episode of Game of Thrones, it's just there are things that I like, but the episode disappointed me so much I don't really care about them. Like, I like what happened with Jon and Sansa and Arya. Like, I like those things, but I just don't care because the episode didn't do what it could have done or what I wanted it to in terms of satisfaction and in terms of like story direction. So I think that it's just, I just don't care about the good things because I'm too disappointed by the bad things. I think give me maybe like a couple of weeks and I won't care as much about the bad things to the point where I can be like, I can take it for what it is and like the good things. But it's difficult because when I was rewatching the ending, I liked, I noticed more of the points that I liked, but also I couldn't help but notice all the things I didn't like more. And it bothers me. It's really annoying. It's like when I tried to rewatch The Last Jedi, I couldn't help but notice all the things I hate about that movie. And it's annoying to me. I'm like, I want to like these things. I want to just look at the good things and be like, let's just enjoy it. But I can't do it. And it pisses me off. But I can't.
You are a cynical bastard.
I am. It's true. I think you did that. I used to love everything, Tyler, and you started ruining.
You did used to love a lot.
And now I hate everything.
More than I hate things.
Yeah, it's weird. Things have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, was it? Yeah, it kind of was me that kind of ruined you, didn't it?
Yeah, just made
you used to love everything, and I would get annoyed at you.
Like,
you're stupid.
Yeah, it's like, why do you like that? Like, hey man,
that's
I don't
dumbest
care.
thing. Yeah, exactly. And now I care too much.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Yeah, you could go back and watch some more podcasts where I'm trying to defend things, and you're like, nope, don't care, it sucks, doesn't matter. And there you go.
Yeah.
Now it's like flipped. You're trying to defend things, and I'm just like, yeah, I get it, but no.
Yeah, but you defend shit things like the Assassin's Creed movie.
No, okay, that was 3 years ago. That doesn't count. Yeah. That doesn't fucking count. Does. No, the Assassin's Creed movie. Jesus Christ. Yeah, okay, well, you tried to defend Hook. You tried to defend Hook.
Here we go. Turn it up. At least it was something I watched as a kid and like, not fucking... As an adult, I'm like, yeah, Assassin's Creed. Those are, you know what? Didn't hate it. Shut your stupid mouth.
Oh man, I love the Assassin's Creed movie. It's really cool. I like when Callum Lynch was in London and he was standing on the edge of a building. It was fucking awesome.
I love when he killed the Grandmaster of the Temple. That's no big deal.
Riken, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah.
He left a real apple in his hand. That was fucking badass and epic.
And epic.
Yeah, it was both.
I love that his the bleeding effect also brought his mum back to life.
So you give him a pep talk.
Yeah. I like that too.
No, it was really
so
good.
much I liked about that movie.
It's really good.
Anywho,
it always comes back to Assassin's
Game
Creed.
of Thrones is over.
It is.
I never want to talk about this again.
No,
I don't respond to people. I'm not responding to any. I'll be tweeting about it, but I'm not replying to people that reply to me.
No, I'm done with this. I'm really done
I want to make bold statements, and I don't want a conversation. That's where I'm at. I want to make bold statements about how I feel, because no one's going to change how I feel about it. You can feel how you want to feel, and you're more than welcome to reply to me, but I'm not going to have a discussion with you about it. I don't want to talk to anyone about it. I feel how I feel. Just let me feel. Let me enjoy it.
That's fair. Yeah, let me hate it. That's good. I think we're in agreement.
Yeah.
A song of hate and fine.
That's
great.
I think Game of Thrones is the greatest show of all time.
That's what I'll name this podcast. Song of hate and fine. No. That's no one's gonna get it unless you listen to the whole.
A song of hate and a song of hate and love.
A song of hate.
A song of love and hate.
A song of love and hate.
Love and hate. just
think
call it
about
a song of love and hate.
That sounds a
it's
bit
a great title.
fucking gay, but
Yeah, hey, bro, you're gay. So
yeah, you're right. I forgot for a minute. Okay.
Yeah, you are gay.
I'll do that.
Shit.
I'll name it that. What shall I do for the thumbnail? Should you have Bran on the throne?
No, put John on the throne.
Okay. Okay, good idea. That sounds better.
Yeah, right. Let's wrap this motherfucker up. I'm done talking about Game of Thrones for the rest of my life until the spin-offs are starting to come out. We'll talk about that on podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
But then we can do the good things again where we theorize and anticipate.
And hopefully it'll be great as well, because it's not going to have the
It
same
doesn't matter
showrunners. So there you go.
Well, no, they're going to be working on Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, and that's going to suck.
Which I imagine.
Good for them.
Why would it suck?
Because they're shit.
Why would it suck?
Have you seen all the plot holes? The fuck, man.
Oh, here we go. Imagine actually having two writers working together on a Star Wars trilogy, and they've planned it from start to finish. Unlike the fucking current trilogy, which is just 3 individual movies. It can't be worse than right now, dude.
Yeah, true. I mean, it could be worse than Game of Thrones, though.
Shut the fuck up.
It could be.
I hate you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway,
We'll
Jesus
see.
Christ. I can't wait.
Wrap it up. I don't want to talk
Alright.
about this anymore. I'm
Thanks
over
so
it.
much, everyone, for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you're listening on Patreon, then thanks very much. Shout out to our Patreon producers, King Richard III, Ikraik, Seth, and Josh Devillier. If you're listening on YouTube or podcast services, also, this is a point. I don't know if you did this or if what happened, but the podcast, Kill Connor Club, not this one, Kill Connor Club is now available on Google Podcasts for some reason. Did you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
No? Okay, I don't know why that is. This podcast isn't available on that, though. People keep asking me to do it, and every time I go to the website, it says that it's not available in my country, so I don't really know how that happened.
How the fuck did someone get it on Google Podcasts?
I have absolutely no idea. It's there, though. 2 people have sent me screenshots of it, so I don't really know what happened
I guess thanks. Whoever did it.
I guess someone did it. We don't know. But maybe one day this will be available there. Anyways, if you're listening on podcast services or on YouTube, this is obviously a week later than it's available on Patreon. So if you're interested in getting Cinema Room episodes a week early, that's just $1 over on patreon.com/as always. As well as that, you also get access to the exclusive Patreon podcast, Kill Connor Clubhouse, which is a good laugh as well. So be sure to head over there if you want access to those, or to just support us because you're really kind and want to help us out. That'd be great. Anyway, to thank everybody that's here supporting us on patreon.com/as always, we've got King Richard III, Ikraik, Seth, Ballsack47, Kassassin, Josh Devillier, TJFL, Damian, Billy, the Team Tynamite Captain, Robertson, Tman or Travis, KEMOSABE Gamer, Alfie Rodbert, Casey Wood, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Jamie Brown, Smexy Dork, Lumistrad, Mario5380, Cap is Worthy, Viridian, Pink Flame through and through, ArunWyn, OllieTheDane, Fuck Cuck, Neeb, Brendon or BQ Overlord, Rav Jai, Julie, Prudhvi Muvva, Oscar, Benedict Parker returns, James and Lad, Connor Durose Bully in the alley, Zahir, Gene, Zeek Collins, Son of a Bitch, Ogeaidogo, Dammit Glenn, Furious Coco, the ACMJS, Delta Rodriguez, Kyle, S. Jaws, Kyle Marvel, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, Ginko Swag, Baby Boy, Master Bass 2434, Yazen, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Elstico 91, Joe A.K.A FoundedScarab, H-Bus12, I got Lumbago, Iron Man's for the Dads, Brian Ford, Casper, Milk Boy, Shields, Fishy, and Andrew Martinez. Thank you all so much for your support. You're all bloody brilliant. And that's it for this episode of the Cinema Room, episode 11, I believe it is. Game of Thrones, season 8, episodes 4 to 6. And that's it.
It's over.
Brilliant. Game of Thrones is over, and now we don't need to talk about it.
Ever again.
And it's great.
Never again. We're not even allowed to joke about it or say anything about it ever again. Reference it in podcasts.
I don't really want to. I really don't even want to make jokes. I really don't. It's honestly upsets me more than anything. To do
it kind of
that.
does to me too. I feel like crying. I'm gonna go cry.
Yeah.
And then
so
off.
We can do that together when the podcast's over if you want.
Yeah. Just over Skype. Just chuck your camera.
Okay, cool. That's it anyways. That's a cool weird fucking turn.
Yeah. Just got aggressively sexual very quickly.
Yeah, we'll throw that
Not
up on
slightly
Patreon.
sexual, aggressively sexual. People won't get that. Only Sweet Ventures lads will get that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly. Slightly sexual.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Cinema Room Podcast. We will see you, depending on whether you're listening to this on Patreon, we'll see you next week for Clubhouse. If you're listening to this out on the free public sphere, we'll see you next week for episode 101 of the Kill Connor Club Podcast, which will probably be live and probably not with a guest, but you just never know. You'll find out. We will see you then. Thank you again for watching. Thanks, James. Your opinion's wrong, as always, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, gamers. It's film connoisseurs. Sorry. Bye.
Yeah, you're wrong again, idiot.